Before we went to the break, we were talking about Newt Gingrich and his statements on Palestine, the Palestinian people. This is also a subject that we could discuss forever and ever and ever. But, I mean, it's very clear what's going on there. It's very clear that there's no kind of monumental shift in the direction that people approach the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And Newt Gingrich specifically has been very vocal and very appeasing to the Israeli lobby here in the United States.
Newt Gingrich, if you follow the money, he is being supported financially by a multimillionaire Christian Zionist out of Las Vegas, who is writing $1 million checks at a time for his campaign through his PAC. And so Newt, who wants to come off like a professor, but he is really a liar. And I don't mind calling him a liar. And every step that these type of racist people take, we have to call them out. To make this these belligerent statements about the Palestinian people, that they are an invented people, that they just came out of nowhere, is just absolutely unacceptable. We're not going to accept it. And in fact, about it, as we move forward on the Muslim street, we will visit the issue of the Palestinian question in depth, and we will bring experts into the Muslim street to discuss what the real deal is.
Definitely. Malik is very heated up on the Palestinian issue today. He watched an interesting documentary that got him very...
Occupation 101.
A great documentary. A great documentary.
You can pull that up on YouTube. It's a couple of hours for your education.
It is available on YouTube, free to watch there. Occupation 101. Very interesting insight on the occupation in Palestine, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Really humanizes the issue and brings forward some good facts. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here in Florida. We'll see who Florida decides. Florida is the largest swing state during this election. Florida is very, very important. You know, I even got a text message from the Romney campaign the other day. I woke up to a text message. So that was very interesting. A lot of money being put into the markets here in Florida, and a lot of things going on. Before we move on to Hassan, I want to bring up kind of the last very important thing that happened in Tampa. On Friday, I had the opportunity to join, through my other hat that I wear, through my work with Emerge USA, I had the opportunity to join a coalition of organizations from around the state, including the ACLU, State Voices, Progress Florida, some great organizations doing great things for the people of Florida. There was a press conference on Friday morning at downtown at the courthouse in Tampa. And it was the beginning, the introduction of the hearings that were held in Tampa and Florida. The Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution, Civil Rights, and Human Rights, chaired by Senator Durbin of Illinois, and he was joined by Senator Nelson. They had come to Tampa on Friday for the first ever field hearing that the subcommittee has ever had. The field hearing was in Tampa again, and it was in review of the Florida legislative voter laws that were passed into law last year. There's a lot of drama. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of controversy on these laws. And it was really great to be there. It was really great to be a part of that. And Emerge USA did submit a testimony. We submitted a testimony explaining how these voter laws will affect, for example, our community, our constituency that we serve. The voter laws, were, from our point of view, from the coalition, are seen as voter suppression laws.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is critical as we move toward the next election, not only the presidential election, but also some of the primaries, the Tier 1 and Tier 2 elections that's going to be going on. Is this country going crazy? This is like 1868 all over again.
The one thing that, kind of surfaces when I think back to Friday is during the press conference, one of the gentlemen that was speaking said that these voter laws that were passed last year by the Florida legislation were the most egregious attack on voting rights since the 1960s. And this is a man that's, Reverend McKenzie, very active in the community. He said that it was the most egregious attack on voter rights. And, after the press conference, we followed Senator Durbin and Senator Nelson. Very proud of both of them for bringing this subcommittee field hearing to Tampa and for being involved and for caring. They brought in a great group of people to testify. There was 2 supervisors of elections. There was a professor from the University of Florida, a former judge, a representative of student groups from the state, and there was a lawyer, and they all, gave their testimonies. And at the end of the field hearing, Senator Durbin did come to the conclusion that these laws are, in fact, voter suppression. So I'm really interested. This is definitely something we'll keep you updated on. It's very interesting to see where this the final decision that was made at the field hearing by Senator Durbin will go.
A couple things for clarification. I think they're asking for a picture ID. In order to vote. Another thing they're asking for is address verifications.
Well, if I can just share one story that that was brought to my mind. There's a lot of controversy about these laws, a lot, just around the board. These laws were submitted into and passed with the purpose that it will attack voter fraud and it will be more cost effective on the state. What they did, one of the many things that these laws do, they completely limit third-party voter registration and individuals who register people, third-party registration. They decrease the early voting days from 14 to 8. There's a attack on, there's previously you could go to the voting area. If your address changed, you could do your address change there and you can vote. And one thing that, was kind of just, I think back and I think of this, is one of the gentlemen that was giving testimony, and these people are on oath, they're not lying. He said that voter fraud, if you look at it, even though voter fraud is almost negligent in the state of Florida since the 2000 elections, he said voter fraud happens through what? Voter fraud happens through absentee ballots. These voter laws do not tackle or bring up absentee ballots at all. I mean, I could go on and on about the great stories that we're giving during the testimony, but definitely very happy to see that the field hearing, the subcommittee on the Constitution, civil rights, and human rights did conclude that these were laws of suppressing the vote. We'll keep you guys updated, but it was really great to be a part of everything going on in Tampa this past week.
Yeah, and you can call in at 727 locally, 727-441-3000, or around the country at 1-866-826-1340. And again, we have in studio with us Hassan Shibly, who's the executive director of CARE here in Tampa. It was a hot issue. It started, I think, Tuesday night, Hassan, with the issue of you were invited in by, I think, George Steinbrenner School, to speak to the students about Islam. And I think the Florida Family Association may have gotten a hold to this, some other right-wing groups, and blew this all out of proportion. Can you talk a little bit about the basis of this?
Right. Let's first talk about, I think, the objections that they had. I mean, clearly the people who objected to a Muslim being invited to speak to a high school class, who are they? What's their motives? What is their agenda? The attack was essentially led by Pamela Geller and David Caden. Pamela Geller is the Southern Poverty Law Center, along with the Anti-Defamation League, have both labeled her as an extremist hate group leader. They said, quote, that she attacks mainstream Islam under the guise of attacking radical Islam. So she attacks Islam and American Muslims, basically promoting xenophobia, promoting hatred. And when she's cornered, hey, why are you promoting hatred? Why are you promoting bigotry? She says, oh, I'm just attacking the radicals. But in fact, the Anti-Defamation League on their own website about Pamela Geller says very clearly she attacks the mainstream Islam, mainstream Muslims under the guise of attacking the radicals. So she just uses this thing, oh, we're just attacking the radicals as an excuse, when really they're just promoting hatred against the American Muslim minority in this country. And that's very scary anytime I hear people who want to promote hatred and violence against a minority. In fact, this Pamela Geller justified the terrorist attacks in Norway where Anders Breivik killed dozens of innocent children. Anders Breivik cited her writings dozens of times as a justification for the terrorist attacks that he did. And to make things worse, after the attack, you know what she did? She put a picture of some of the kids, the victims, you know, who were mercilessly, you know, just shot at cold blank range. And she said, "Oh well, look at these guys. They're not all, you know, European. They have a mixed ethnicity. You know, as if, oh, the guys, don't worry. It wasn't pure Norwegian or European blood that was spilled." Sort of justifying it.
Same
you know,
kind
and
of
that's very
justifications
disturbing.
we've seen for Hitler. But keep going.
Exactly, and then to make things worse, she went on and to write, "Hey, these kids would have been sympathetic to Muslims, basically, had they grown up." You know, so it's crazy. These people that are just promoting hatred, even if it results in the loss of innocent life of innocent children. And then instead of condemning it, she didn't go out and condemn Anders Breivik for killing kids in her name. Because that's what he did. He killed kids in Pamela's name. He cited Pamela Geller to justify the terrorist attack that he did. And she didn't condemn it. Rather, she said, oh, these kids would have grown up to be sympathetic anyways, if it's saying it's okay. So she's the first person who was leading the attack against Islam being taught in the public schools, which is actually required by the Sunshine State Standards. The Sunshine State Standards require that all the major faiths are taught in the public high school. So because, you know, kids are going to grow up, they're going to go out in the workplace, go out to college, university, they're going to meet people of different faiths, different ideas, and it's going to be very awkward if you don't have a proper understanding of the different world faiths and cultures that make up this country. So that's the first person. David Caden was the second guy, and I think he's very well known in this community, and that is that he's the one that attacked the All-American Muslim TV show because he said it was inaccurate because it showed Muslims as quote-unquote normal, not as terrorists. So I mean that's the kind of people we're dealing with here. They're anti-Muslim bigots who hate Islam, hate Muslims, and unfortunately are trying to promote their hatred through the school system.
We'll continue this conversation definitely when we get back. A lot going on with Hassan Shibly as he kind of, works to do his job here in the community. You're listening live to the Muslim Street on WTAN 1340. Join us after the break.